kind of sexist, David.
Sexist.
Sexist.
It's not sextist.
Say it again.
Sexist. There's no T.
Okay, sexist.
You sexting me?
I'm sexting you.
All right.
That's kind of sexist, David.
Sexist.
That's what I'm trying to say.
All right, say it again.
Sexist.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
This is episode number 199. What can a pimp teach you about book writing, blogging, and podcasting? That's coming up.
This is the Red Podcast, the marketing podcast for influencers. Rise above the noise. Expand your audience. Deliver impact. Here's your host, David Hooper.
For several years, I've had my business mail sent to a P.O. box, and there are two reasons for that. One, it's when I was working outside of my house, as I would add employees or let employees go. Or sometimes I just needed to get away from employees. I would have different offices, so I was moving around quite a bit. And the second reason, and I'm not sure if this happens in any other industry, but in the music business in Nashville, there's a post office at the end of what we call Music Row, which is 16th and 17th Avenues. And every label, every publishing company, everybody who's anybody in the music industry has a P.O. box at this post office. So if you were to go into the P.O. box, and this still happens to me even though I'm not actively working in the music industry now, you'll see somebody that you know. It's a great way to connect with people. Everybody in the industry does that. I've had this box for so long. I know so many people at this post office. I've kept it even though I'm not actively working in the music industry now. I was at that post office just a couple of days ago. I was picking up my mail, and I've got a package in there. It's a thick envelope. It's one of those things that if you had a stack of mail, you would notice it. I call that lumpy mail. It really stands out. So this was the first thing that I opened, and I see it's kind of a metallic folder. It says Discover. I've got a Discover card. I've got a bank account with Discover. I didn't have any idea what it was. So I open it up, and in the middle of it, there's a hole cut, and there's a brand new metal credit card, and it says, "You've been upgraded." I said, great. Discover has finally acknowledged how important I am, and they have upgraded me to a better credit card, a metal credit card, bigger limits. It's got double the cashback bonus. This card looks like brushed metal, and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be very impressive when I'm in a store and I'm making a purchase, and I hand over the card, and the salesperson says, oh, man, this card is very heavy. I've got a metal card now, and that's exactly what happens each time I use it. I've got all these good thoughts in my head. I pull the card out of the folder, only to discover the card is not metal at all, but plastic. I talked about this a couple of episodes ago, the facade of VIP marketing. If you're interested in that, redpodcast.com/197. It is everywhere. It works on a lot of people, and it's a topic that I'll be continuing the discussion about on this episode. This is the Red Podcast, the podcast for influencers. If you're a blogger, a podcaster, speaker, marketer, nonfiction author, or entrepreneur, this is the podcast for you. What do I talk about? Things like book publishing, podcasting, speaking, and other marketing elements of your business that you must master to grow and engage your audience. That's what Red is about, how to reach, expand, and develop your audience. I show you how to take the work that you do, make a name for yourself, and make money. On this episode, talking about how to be a motherfucking pimp. About a month ago, I got an email. It was sent to my blog, 23hours.com. If you haven't been there, if you want to see some of my writing, 23hours.com is where to get that. On that blog a few years ago, I'd written an article about a guy named Iceberg Slim. He's got a book. It's called Pimp, The Story of My Life. And it's a classic book. It's one of those books like Atlas Shrugged. A lot of people have read it, and if you're interested in joining the conversation about the book, you need to read it yourself. So I did read it. It's an interesting book. There's some great marketing lessons in there, and that's what I wrote about on the blog at 23hours.com. I think that article was actually how this guy found me. It was a mysterious email. He used what I think is a fake name. If not, it's the same name of a well-known Italian mathematician. He gave me the website. He was promoting a book, and he was passing it out via PDF. It was free to download, and it was more of a guerrilla marketing kind of thing. He was trying to spread a message. The book, it's called How to Be a Motherfucking Pimp. I said, yeah, this is right up my alley. I knew about Iceberg Slim. I'd written about Iceberg Slim before. I'm interested in this kind of marketing. So I said, yeah, there's probably something there for me in there. And there was. The website, it's dazzlerazzle.com if you're interested in seeing this. So that initial contact, it's kind of mysterious. I liked the name of the book, How to Be a Motherfucking Pimp, and I loved the slogan when I went to dazzlerazzle.com, the website, and it said, learn the pimp game beyond Iceberg Slim. I knew about Iceberg Slim, had read the book, so that got my attention. Learn the pimp game beyond Iceberg Slim. That was the slogan. This book, not exactly something that I would normally talk about here. Here's some of the sections. Thug life, cooking crack with the baking soda method, a bunch of bitches, bitch be tripping. Overview of the game, Lay Pimpology 1, coat hanger abortions for dummies, programming super hoes, pension plans are for bitch, not hoes, Econopimpics 3 is the subtitle of that one. What this guy has done, and this is the reason that I'm mentioning it here on Red Podcast, is because he has put together the 3 elements of a successful book. It's worth looking at, even if you're not interested in the topic. And those 3 elements are, number 1, personality. When you go to dazzlerazzle.com, you're going to see this personality come through. The personality, it came through in the initial message. Number 2 is a voice, and what I mean by that, if you were to read this guy's information and then see some of his information elsewhere, not knowing who the author is, you're going to recognize the voice and know who he is. That's also very important. Number 2, a voice. Number 3, a point of view. Cooking crack with the baking soda method. A bunch of bitches. Bitches be tripping. Programming super hoes. That is a point of view. The way he looks at life, the way he looks at money, the way he looks at male-female relations, that is a point of view. You may not like it, just like people may not like your views, but having that strong point of view is paramount to have a successful book, to have a successful platform. You've got to have personality, voice, and point of view. Most books are boring. Most books don't sell, and the reason is we get caught up with writing. Once we're done with writing the book, we get caught up with marketing. If you focus on these 3 things, personality, voice, point of view, the writing happens. It may not be perfect, but it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be captivating. It's going to capture people's attention. It's going to be remarkable, something that people want to talk about. The marketing is going to handle itself. When you've got these things, the good writing doesn't matter. There are plenty of well-written books that are boring, plenty of well-written books that when you read them, don't make you think, don't make you change an opinion, don't make you question anything. And when you've got a book like that, the marketing doesn't matter. Good marketing, it only causes a bad book, a boring book to fail faster. I've talked about this on previous episodes many times. We've got these authors out here that are extremely organized. They've got big groups of people with launch teams that they organize, and it's very easy these days, thanks to the internet, thanks to the power of big mailing list, to organize a bunch of people to buy your book at a certain time or within a certain time frame. Run that book up the charts. To organize that bunch of people to send out Twitter messages, Facebook messages, Pinterest images, and get people to buy your book. But what happens is, just like a bad movie, the internet that helped you get the word out about your book, helped spread the word to a lot of people that you would not have normally been able to reach. It's a double-edged sword. It turns on you, and once people find out that your book is bad, and they will rather quickly, the book tanks. Imagine the opening weekend of a major motion picture. Everybody's going to see it the first weekend, but even that night, people are going online, sending text messages, calling people up. No, man, don't bother seeing that. It's no good. The movie might have a great night. Doesn't even have a great opening weekend. The word gets out, people stop going. The same thing is happening to books. This is how to prevent that. 1, personality. 2, voice. 3, point of view. I'm going to go deeper into these. What is personality? Personality is you times 1,000. Think about somebody on reality television. It's a normal person, just like you and me, but the person is bigger, bolder, louder. You times 1,000. Is that amped up 24 hours a day? Absolutely not. Coming from the entertainment business, I can tell you that what you see on stage, what you hear on records, what you see in films, absolutely not what is happening at home and after hours. This does not have to be you 24 hours a day, but it does need to be you when you're behind the mic, in front of an audience, when you're writing emails, when you're writing a blog post. You times 1,000. So the next blog post, podcast, Facebook post, I want you to think of it. What would somebody on reality television do? They'd be themselves, but bigger, bolder, louder. So that's element number one, personality. Number two, voice. One of the things that you can do to increase your voice is to have your own language. Think about the sections of the Dazzle Razzle book. Thug Life, Cooking Crack with the Baking Soda Method, a bunch of bitches be tripping. He's got a chapter here, it's called Overview of the Game, Lay Pimpology 1. He's got this other one, Pension Plans are for bitches, not hoes. Econopimpics 3. So within the book, there's also Econopimpics 2, Econopimpics 1. This guy's got his own language. Every group of people, including your customers, has a special way of communicating with each other. Every group has its own shorthand, and that lets them know that they're talking to an insider. Let me give you an example. Everybody in telecommunications, they know what RBOC is. Somebody walks up to you, they say, "Are you a traveling man?" That question means something to Masons. Dazzle Razzle, he's got his own language too. Iceberg Slim, Pimp, The Story of My Life, got his own language. In fact, at the end of that book, Pimp, The Story of My Life, there's a glossary at the end so you know what he's talking about. It's important that people understand what you're talking about. You've got to bring things down to their level. But at the same time, using this insider language, if you give them a way to find out what you're talking about, that just solidifies you as an insider even more. So the big lesson here is that if you want to connect with your customers, you need to meet them where they are and speak the same language that they do. The good news is, if you are your customer, you're probably doing this already. If you're not your customer, you're not in a business that you're personally familiar with, here are a couple quick ways for you to find out how they're speaking to each other. Meetup.com is excellent. You don't necessarily have to go to a meetup, although that would be best. You can also look online to find out how the people from the meetup are communicating. Related to that, Amazon reviews a related product. That is my number one way to find out how people in certain markets are talking to each other, what's important to them. And as a bonus, you've got books, such as the one I'm talking about now by Dazzle Razzle, the book by Iceberg Slim, written by somebody who's lived what he's writing about. So that's number two, how to develop a voice. Number three is to have a point of view. Make a stand. Not everybody's going to agree with you, but they will know where you stand. You're not, well, if it's convenient, I wouldn't mind if you would do this. Tell people what to do. They're looking to you for leadership. Go ahead and make a stand. Look at Donald Trump, the presidential election. People who get ahead in presidential elections make stands. When people change their positions on things in presidential elections, it hurts them. Now, as a human who's evolving, you should change your position on things. You know more now than you did 10 years ago. If you're not changing your position on some things, you're not evolving. But when it comes to politics, again, Donald Trump, he's wrong about a lot and isn't changing his position or softening it one bit. It's working for him. So to summarize this episode, if you're working on a book, a blog, a podcast, any kind of content, any kind of message you're trying to get out there, the three elements that you want: 1, personality; 2, voice; and 3, a point of view. Hey, speaking of Donald Trump, next episode, I'm talking about the art of winning, why some people get ahead and some people do not. This information might surprise you. If you want to make sure you don't miss that episode, redpodcast.com is where to subscribe. One click is all it takes if you're on an iPhone, Android. If you listen on your computer, one click, I will make sure you never miss an episode of Red Podcast. That's at redpodcast.com. If you've got questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me. At David Hooper on Twitter is the best way to do it. Thank you for being part of the Red community. For past episodes and more information on me, redpodcast.com is where to go. I'll see you on the next episode of Red Podcast.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, the marketing podcast for influencers. Never miss an episode. Subscribe now with your iPhone, Android, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.